Everyone. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Daily Attorney Podcast. I am your host, Marie Yves, Jean Baptiste. And basically, today is the ninth episode, And as you all know, here at the Daily Attorney Podcast, we talk to women attorneys all over the United States who are just simply amazing at what they do inside and outside of the legal profession. Our guest today is the founder of the SJS Law Firm located in Washington, D.C., Ms. Shavon Smith. Ms. Smith serves as general counsel to small business owners, and has dedicated her practice to counseling business owners, startups, and just entrepreneurs on just a wide range of legal issues. Aside from being an attorney, she's also a lecturer and an accomplished author, which we will dive into later. As part of her community efforts, Ms. Smith sits on the board of the Wheeler Creek Community Development Corporation, which is a Southeast DC nonprofit organization, and she serves as an active member of the law practice management community as part of the District of Columbia Bar. Shavon, welcome. That was quite an intro, and it gives us lots of topics to delve into, right? But first and foremost, why are you here? This is the reason why you're here, right? Why did you decide to pursue a legal career?
So first of all, thank you so much for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here on your platform. Thank you for sharing it with me to talk to other people. So thank you. Why did I become a lawyer? You know, some days I think to myself, why did I become a lawyer? I was just talking to a friend earlier just about, I know you do trust and estate, but just like conflict and the difficulty and the clients. And you're like, why did I sign up for a life of just like not ease? But for me, I would say the early reasons were knowing I wanted a grad degree, not knowing what that should look like, but hearing, oh, lawyers can do anything. And so for me, it was, if I go to law school, I can do anything. I don't think that's true. I think that's true to some extent, but I think that's not completely true. I think there's some levels to that. So that was my initial reason. And quite frankly, I really like reading and writing. And I knew lawyers did more reading and writing than they did speaking and being in court. And So that actually attracted me to it. I thought it was a good profession for an introvert, which I consider myself to be. Like I walk and go somewhere and read and write and nobody bother me. Like I want to do that. But then, all this conflict is the antithesis of that. I think as it has progressed for me, I really just like solving problems. Like when I think about this week from Monday to today, the amount of problems, yes, it's conflict, but the amount of problems I got to solve in a positive way or in some way, I think for me, that's like the highest and best use of how God made me, like just to bring things to resolution and to help people solve things. So that's really that's what keeps me here.
And, I love that. It's funny because, you say, why would we do this to ourselves, right? Recently, I made the decision that I don't think, family law is one of those areas where I can keep my headspace clear, right? While practicing family law. So we've axed that. So we are strictly, a trust and estates and tax law firm. I agree with you. At a point, I think it takes a very special person. And I think people like you and I who consider ourselves a bit, introverts, it's tough for us to do family law, especially because you're in a courtroom so much. When I know I have to go to court, I actually have to go today at 2:30. And I'm sitting here like, thinking of all the ways that I can't mess something up. Yeah. Right. I remember the first time I had I had a court appearance. I called myself the plaintiff for the defendant. Like,
it's nerve-wracking. I don't think people get it. Like, it doesn't matter if you've been to law school. Even for seasoned attorneys, going before a judge it makes you nervous.
It's very intimidating. Yeah. And I think unfortunately judges get the bad rap of not being as approachable. But, a lot of people forget that they're supposed to, like us, they're supposed to be impartial. right? So it might be a judge that, I practice quite a bit in Hartford County, and Judge Yves, I served on the board with her of a nonprofit organization. When I get in front of her, I can't say, "Hey, Your Honor, how you doing?" I can't do that, right? She has to remain impartial, and I do too. And it's the same thing that we have to do in our client cases. So I'm glad, you brought up that impartiality, not impartiality, the conflict issue, because I think it's one that attorneys, we don't think about, and I want to dive into, what you said earlier about lawyers can do anything. If you weren't practicing law, what would you be doing?
I think I'd be a therapist. I think that would be, which in many ways, it feels like that's a lot of what I do anyway, because I work with business owners, and business owners align so much of their identity to their work that a lot of times you are parsing through them and their business and piecing it together. So I really think that I would be a therapist. And even when I went to college, my first major that I actually ended up changing before I started was psychology, because I thought that the brain was interesting and people. And I think when you're an introvert and you do so much observing, that you kind of see that. So I think I would definitely be a therapist in some capacity.
Yeah, I definitely get that. I don't know what I would do. I thought about doctor, but you're back there in trauma response, and I just don't want to keep doing trauma response.
Yes.
And I think family law is a lot of that. And like you said, with small businesses, we own small businesses.
Yeah.
Right. So we're like, you're in the trenches with your clients.
Yes.
And not too many people can say that. So I think that's really awesome. How much of your practice is geared towards the research and writing aspect? Because I know you said that that's something you enjoy.
Not a lot of it. I mean, a lot of it is just the doing. So a lot of it is drafting contracts. It is responding to demand letters. It is thinking through strategy of some sort of deal or some sort of venture that my client is thinking about, purchasing a company or a partner being bought out. So I honestly don't get a chance to do that a ton. A lot of it is other attorneys that I work with doing research and sending it to me. I do a lot of writing for sure, whether it's the first draft or something, or just reviewing a draft someone else. But the research I don't get to do as much, but I actually enjoy it. I think it forms a lot of your thinking when you can kind of go through the steps of researching a thing and figuring it out. But once you've done something for a while, your instincts and knowledge of the law kind of kick in as well.
And you know what, you say that, and that's absolutely true, because sometimes, like, if I'm researching A, and I'll find something that, kind of points to Z that I didn't even think about. I'm like, oh, this is another argument that I could use that I didn't even, that wasn't even on my radar. And 100% of the time, it has always benefited my client.
Think that what's important, though, even in practice, is research for your client, but to just always be learning, like to always be researching, always be taking courses, to always be interested, to have some intellectual curiosity about the things you do in general. And that's definitely going to benefit your client as well.
It really, really does. It really, really does. I think what sets the good business owners from the great business owners are the business owners that are always, that will always be students.
Yes.
Right? Because nothing is static. Everything is forever evolving. So if you're constantly at the forefront of learning, the next, then at the end of the day, your business is growing with future generations. Yeah. And I think, that's one of the things that hurt a lot of firms that closed their doors during the pandemic, because they were kind of just doing things one way, and they never imagined a virtual law firm, or they never imagined using a platform such as, StreamYard or Zoom or anything, electronic. So that's
that I got really busy during the pandemic. Was that
I did too.
Experience as well? Like things just got more intensely.
Yeah. Yeah, I did too. For the first few weeks, maybe a month or two, I was staring at the phone like, you're not going to ring, and then as soon as it rang, it just never stopped ringing, to the point. I don't know if do you have like a max caseload that you normally take?
I should, but I don't. I haven't identified what it is. Like if it's interesting and I feel like I have some capacity, I'll take it. But that's a really good point of thinking through what my max is and cutting it off at that point and re-strategizing that way. Is that how you structure things?
So it's a little different for us because, well, with the family law, it's difficult because you have so many court appearances. And that was kind of the problem with me. I feel like with family law, if you're going to do family law, just do family law. Don't do anything else. And so what we noticed was that a lot of my time was spent in court or in consultations. Yeah. So what my producer has done, she, like I told you earlier, she does 100% of our tech stuff. She's done a great job of structuring our calendar. We use Acuity, where she's blocked off certain times. And before I was taking appointments Monday through Friday. Now it's just Monday and Tuesday. And to be honest, I'm about to take Tuesday off because it's just too much. What I'm finding is I am such a bleeding heart. I'm sure, between her and my client relations manager, they probably roll their eyes every time they see an email because I'm like, no more appointments. And then like 2 days later, I'm like, okay, just one person, 15 minutes.
No, I think to your point, boundaries are.
She's shaking her head. Yes.
Yeah. Boundaries are super important. And even if I don't have a max caseload, I like you. So I only take new client calls. There are exceptions, but typically Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
Okay.
And then Monday, I really try, and I've been pretty good. Like I don't take any meetings. Like I don't want to talk to anybody on Monday because I need to think and I need to do deep work and I need to do the things that, make my clients successful in what they do. And then I try to push as much of just random conversations to Friday as possible. So I
love that.
Even though I don't have like a max client load, I definitely have boundaries that have helped me keep my sanity in terms of like new clients and only taking them between like after 10 and, kind of thinking through it that way. But it wasn't always like that because you're starting, you're like, I'll talk to anybody whenever and I'll take a meeting whenever. We could do whatever whenever. And then you're like, no, it's driving me crazy. So
right. Right. And that's where we are now. Camille made a really good point. We talked about restructuring my calendar and she said, well, I think you taking meetings as soon as you get into the office is probably not a good idea.
I agree.
So let's scale it, back. She was like, how about 9:30, 10? And so we agreed, let's start with 9:30. There are some cases because I do tax work, we have to call the IRS. Yeah. They open at 7. So unfortunately, sometimes I have to, get on the phone with clients.
You got to be on the
7 a.m. 7 a.m. I'm driving in traffic, trying to, get through IRS. So it just really, really depends. But, right now we're at 65 cases and I'm the only attorney. So that it's tough on me. So we're actually going to bring it down to 50, but that is once we finish up all of the family law stuff and then we get to so
question for you say you're going to stop family law, so what happens if someone calls you with a great family law case? You tell them no?
I send it to a great family law attorney. I send it and I'm sure you get some of those, right? Like you get the small business clients where you're like, whoa, like I can do boom 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 because I've already worked through this and I know the strategy and I don't even have to think. We get some of those sometimes and they're great, but I think I don't want to put one foot in, one foot out, right? It's like you deciding that all of a sudden you want to do bankruptcy law. Like you just don't want to have one foot in, one foot out and dibble. Yeah. So I was like, you know what, let's just take it off the roster. Do you have like any associates that work with you?
So I have contract attorneys. I was just talking to a friend about this. That's been incredibly helpful. Dedicated, not full time, but a lot of extra help. Eventually I do need to bring in more full-time help, but for now that's been a good strategy between two contract attorneys to get things done.
Yeah, it definitely is, because things get hectic real quick. So let me ask you about just why did you decide to, open up a law firm? Like, why didn't you go the associate route or one of the 800 other things? And I have a list of 800 things that we can do with our law degrees. I got it in law school and I held on to it this entire time. But like, why didn't you go another route?
Yes, so I was fired from my big firm job in February 2013. And it was the Monday after the Super Bowl. And I always celebrate the Monday after the Super Bowl as my freedom Monday. So I always celebrate that as a holiday. So I was let go after maybe 7 or so years there. And I, had some money in the bank and I just took time off. So it was a combination of a couple of things. Even before I left that firm, I was plotting a few entrepreneurial endeavors anyway. Like I was looking at franchise ownership and, investing in things like that was already on my mind. And I had made this whole vision board that year, January 2013. And when I look back at the vision board, it was all about being an entrepreneur. So I'm like, well, of course they fired me because I just didn't want to be here at this job.
You put that out there. You just didn't even realize.
I was like, let me go ahead, give you what you asked for. So that was one part of it, of like already thinking through those things. And so I had this time off from this job and I just loved my life. Like it was all this freedom I had never had before. I was really productive. And it was like this, how can I recreate this and still be a productive person and make money? So that was like another part of it. And then I just had a lot of friends who were business owners. I had friends who were business owners and I heard some of their kind of like pain points of what they needed. And I actually like practicing law. I think I had a lot of friends who worked in big law and various other places that they didn't really like it. They do it. But I'm like, no, I like it. Like I could make this a thing. So it was a combination of like freedom, wanting to be a business owner, knowing there was a niche that needed to be filled, and it all kind of culminated into this practice.
So what makes I don't know too many firms out there that are just focused on small businesses, which I think is wonderful. But what makes your firm different? When you saw what big law looked like, and, you talk to your friends and, you kind of put all this evidence / research together, what made you decide, okay, I'm going to make my firm completely different and I'm going to tailor it this way?
Yeah, I talked to a new client yesterday and he says, listen, I've hired a lot of attorneys and my pet peeve is when people bill me for these interoffice meetings, they bill me for every postage stamp, they bill me for their learning curve. And I'm like, that's great because we don't do that. And that was one of my things about working in big law is like clients feeling like they're just getting nickeled and dimed. And I knew I could do that differently. And I knew with small businesses, cost is a factor, but it's more so knowing the cost. It's not being surprised by any bill. So I knew I could deliver an experience where people wouldn't be surprised. They would have a sense of what they were signing up for and not just, get a bill in the mail for all these meetings and all these copies, all this mail that is not solving their legal problem. So that is one aspect of it. The second aspect of it is now I'm a business owner myself. So I can approach your problem from all of these other business owners that I have talked to and have this knowledge from, but just my own experience as well of how I've done things and how, I view things. So I think it's approaching it from a business standpoint and not necessarily always being the lawyer on something.
Right. You have a personal aspect that most places do not have. So I think that's definitely huge. And it comes to like nickel and diamond. I think it was like my 4th year of being in business. I realized I hadn't charged a client for a stamp. And I was like, wait, that's what people do that? And they were like, yeah, it's a client. No, I'm not doing that. What we do now is we still add it to the bill, but we make it non-billable. So that way the client
people know they're getting the value of that. Yeah.
Yeah, they know, listen, you're not getting charged, for all of this. And that's only when I remember to add stuff. This is why I love flat fees, because I am so focused on the client. I'm so focused on the work and my calendar and my schedule and the time that I forget, oh, I have to add this, I have to add that. So, sometimes when clients get bills, it's very rare we get a client that complains.
Right.
And if we do, okay, take 25% off. I'm not fighting with anybody over $1.
And not to your question about how we do things differently, like I'm flexible. Like I'm a small shop. If you want a flat fee, we can figure it out hourly. Like I'm just not rigid in my approach to how I do anything really. So I'm flexible in how I do. I'm not changing my hourly rate for you.
Right.
Some flexible way to work.
Right. And that's good too. You have to have some, level of flexibility. And sometimes you have to work with clients where they are. Right. And there's nothing wrong with that too. Like we shouldn't be so rigid. But I also understand we shouldn't be so malleable that clients take advantage of us. Exactly. So that's big. As far as, the whole franchise ownership, I thought about that one, some time ago. What franchise would you own?
I was looking at opening up a State Farm agency.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, because when I was working at my firm, I was doing insurance coverage litigation. Completely different. I don't know why I compared the two, but I was like, oh, insurance. I'll open up an insurance agency. So I was looking at selling insurance. I had thought about investing in like a Safeway franchise. So it was kind of all over the place. I knew a couple of things. I knew being a business owner seemed interesting to me. And this was back in 2012 when people weren't having the same conversation that they are now. And I knew that I didn't hate where I worked. I thought it was a good place, but I knew being a partner there, it just didn't appeal to me. So I'm like, well, what's next? What else can I do here?
Yeah, I met with someone some time ago, and I actually have to reach out to him. So thank you for jogging my memory. But if you want his information, I can provide it. So this individual, he actually tailors your franchise to you. So he'll sit down with you and he'll go over, who you are, what you're about, what you're interested in. And he will provide you with a list of franchises that he thinks would better suit your personality.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Because if you think about it, like someone like us who is, on the go and is busy with our law firm might not be the greatest person for like a moving company. Right, where you have to be like there on the go, looking at this, looking at that, yada, yada, yada. So it just depends on who you are and what you're looking for. The next thing that I thought that was really cool that you mentioned was the vision board. So one of the questions that I wanted to ask you was, what are your hobbies outside of being a kick-ass attorney? Like, what do you like to do, to maintain your sanity and to ground you?
I feel like I need to get more hobbies. I don't probably have enough, but I love time with family and friends. I love to travel. So, I definitely am one of those people who traveled during the pandemic and went places. So in the course of a year, I already have some travel planned. I plan on going to Ghana towards the end of this year. I was in Portugal in the fall. So any chance I get to travel and see the world, I love.
Yeah, I'm a huge avid traveler too. We have a couple of trips going. I would love to go to Ghana. I'm trying to get my mom to go, but I know that the flights to Africa are extremely lengthy.
They are lengthy.
Yeah.
Take a layover in London and then go.
I know. Yeah, London is not too. I've actually been to London. I think it's 8 hours
about 7,
from. Yeah, about 7, 8. I know Paris is 6 or 7. That's one of the places that I love international. I love, interstate travel, whatever. As far as, like self-development, like how do you, what do you do outside of, being a lawyer to kind of help you, mitigate, of course, the stresses of being a small business owner, but at the same time help you, develop who you are as a human being? Because I think that, if we're not developing, in a sense, we're kind of limited to how we can serve our clients. But, please let me know if you disagree.
No, I absolutely agree. So there are a couple of things. One, pray. Like I'm always kind of praying and getting outside of myself, and that's very important to me. Two, reading podcasts, kind of getting a different point of view on things, especially personal development ones, especially ones geared towards attorneys, and then talking to other people. I literally just came from lunch with a friend. Before lunch, I texted him two questions about practice. Is a mentor of mine, just about his practice and efficiencies, because we can't know everything ourselves. So I wanted a different viewpoint on like what are your thoughts on being efficient here? What are your thoughts on technology? So for me, it's spending time with people I like, who I think I'll have a lot of good insight on things. And some of those people happen to be clients. They are successful business owners, so talking to them helps me as well.
That's amazing. Yeah. I think we have a huge array of just self-development books out there that just really like open up our eyes to like different areas, in our lives. And I feel like they make us better attorneys,
Yeah.
right? As we grow. What is your family like? Does your family have any input on, when you told them I'm going to law school, I'm going to be an attorney, like what was their reaction?
There wasn't much of a reaction. I think they knew that I would go on after undergrad to some sort of degree. I've always kind of been that person that if I say I'm going to do something, I do it. So I think for them, it was like, okay, she's going to do that and she's going to finish it, and that'll be that.
Yeah. Okay. I had the opposite. It was
Really?
oh gosh, it was really, oh gosh. Now it's an attorney. All right, let's see what's next. Because I couldn't make up my mind. I always knew I wanted to help people. For me, I realized I wanted to help people when a friend of mine from Brooklyn, New York, where I'm from, she was like, hey, Nate, I need help with an MTA application. In New York, if you get a job with an MTA, it's our Metro Transit. That's huge, right? Because the benefits are insane, the pay is amazing, and you can skyrocket as far as different career paths. So I was like, sure, so I met her in a cafe one day and we sat down. I helped her put the entire application package together, resume, blah, 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 blah. And, a whole month later, she was like, oh my gosh, I got the job. Thank you so much.
Wow.
And I will never forget the feeling that I got,
To help.
right? It's the same feeling I'm sure you get, when your client, gets what they're looking for. You're just like, whoa, like I help this person.
Yeah. I think the best compliment I ever get from a client is they come to me with a problem, we talk about it, and they say, I feel so much better. Maybe it's not solved, maybe it's not perfect, maybe it still won't be great, but they feel some sense of peace about the path forward.
Yeah. And realistically, that is why our clients come to us. They come to us to feel better. They have a situation, we have an answer, we have a possible solution. And if we don't, we provide a referral,
Right.
And get them to. So I've had plenty of clients say, oh my gosh, I spoke to so-and-so attorney you sent me to. They're amazing. My cousin actually just called me and said, oh my gosh, the immigration attorney you sent me to is amazing. We retained her. She's taking the case and we feel so much better. So you are 100% right. You don't have to solve the problem, but you can provide a resource.
Exactly.
Right. So before I let you go, and I don't want to totally monopolize your time, what is something that you've implemented in your law practice or just in your life, as an attorney that you are just extremely proud of?
Gosh, something I implemented that I'm proud of.
It could be anything. It doesn't have to be a grand thing. It could be something small that, may have changed the way that, you work or the way you move.
I mean, I think the relationships I've been able to develop with my clients where they feel comfortable calling me and they don't feel like the clock is ticking and they feel like I can call her, email her, get an answer, and it's not, this stress of like, how much is it going to cost me to talk to my attorney? I think I'm proud of that, like the relationships I've been able to develop with them. I would say in my personal life, just the discipline to do this work. I mean, when you work for yourself and there's no one punching a clock and no one watching over your shoulder, you have to build your own structure. You have to build your own discipline. Like I had to set those boundaries of like no meetings on Mondays. This, like, it takes discipline to do those things and set those things in your life. So I would just say just a discipline to be able to build this practice is what I'm proud of.
I love that. So we'll end on that: relationships and discipline, right? Because ultimately relationships with people and discipline to do the things that you're supposed to do, not the things you want to do, the things that you're supposed to do, ultimately helps to catapult us and our businesses to the next level. Now, before I go and before I forget, how can clients best reach you? Like, what is the platform that
Absolutely. So my website is there. It's the sjslawfirm.com. They can call me 202-505-5309. Instagram is, that's it, Shavon J Smith. And then LinkedIn, I think, is the same thing, Shavon J Smith as well. So between those platforms, those are the best to reach me. And that's my Twitter.
And hopefully soon a podcast. I know you started one, and
it's coming back. You inspired me.
Good. Please, please, please. It's, it's nerve-wracking every single time, I get up here to talk, but it's so amazing to just talk to brown women attorneys like you who are just kicking butt. And, one at a time, we're leaving our mark in the world, right? Absolutely. So you can catch us on social media: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn. If you have a question, send us an email at info@stlaw.com. I am your host, Marie Yves, Nadine G. Baptiste, Ms. Shavon Smith. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everyone. Bye.